Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. We are working on part 2. We'll finish up the Real Estate Agent 2022 Action Plan. And today is part 2. But before we get to that, Julie would like to chat a little bit about the horrible tornado
situations that happened on Saturday. Now, you'll recall here in North Carolina, we had a bit of rain and wind. And I wanted to acknowledge and thank all of you who sent us texts and emails checking on us to see if we're okay. And really, it was just a fairly minor storm for us. However, I know that I believe 7 different states were affected, everywhere from Kentucky down to Mississippi. There was a large amount of tornado damage down to some actual cities being, destroyed. Now, if you are near those areas or in those areas and you know who you are, this is a great opportunity. Obviously, take care of yourself and your family first, and all of your active listings and pendings and things that you've got to check on. But what a great opportunity to do some outreach to what all of you lovingly call your database. That would be your past clients, your centers of influence. Just make sure that they're okay and find out how you can help. I'll give you an example. Sarah Gibson lives in Paducah, Kentucky. She's about 20 miles outside of where there was major destruction. We're talking about buildings flattened. And she also has a farm, so she's going to lend out some of their heavy equipment to help clear the debris. There's lots of different things you can do. Toy drives, coat drives, food drives, whatever's going on. Great way for you to do some outreach. A lot of you guys have asked. Salvation Army and the Red Cross are both involved, so those are the easy buttons to find out what to do.
And it's a great thing to do. It goes to what we were talking about last week about showing gratitude. When you're putting yourself in a position to help other people, it's going to really help you to feel obviously in a more grateful, more appreciative way. It's going to be the perfect emotional experience for you to have in preparation for next year. Because really, that's the most powerful antidote to all the stress we've experienced, certainly since the advent of COVID, And coming off this last year, going into the new year, you're going to have to give yourself an emotional breath. Give yourself some time off, and what a great way to do that. And by volunteering and helping other people who obviously are experiencing a lot of devastation over the holidays,
I know, pretty terrible. And a great way for you to have a lot of gratitude if your personal house was not lifted off the ground. And if any of you guys were affected, our hearts go out to you. But please do your outreach and take good care of your family first, and then, of course, your clients and past clients.
And we do want to thank all of you who did take the time to give us a 5-star review on iTunes. It was very considerate of you. We do appreciate it. And for those of you who are feeling absolutely horrible about yourselves because you haven't done it yet, I'm going to give you the
It's not too late.
It's not too late. We're going to give the easy button way for you to solve that incredible feeling of consternation and confusion. Just obviously, if you know how to do this, you can just go ahead and go over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Or what you could do is also text 5-star, text the number 5, then star to 47372. And then what happens is that's a company called Rate This Podcast or something. And we'll text you back a link, and then they make it super easy for you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes, on Stitcher, on whatever your podcast listening widget happens to be. But we certainly appreciate it. We do read everything. We read all the 5-star reviews on our book on Amazon. All these things matter to us. It makes us feel good. But what really does, the reason it makes us feel good is not just because you're taking the time to say something nice, but also because we know there's other people for generations that follow that are going to be reading those 5-star reviews, that are going to realize, well, hey, this book or this podcast helped this person. Now maybe it can help me. And then it helps Julie and I to be in alignment with what our highest and truest purpose on this planet is, professionally speaking, of course, which is to be of service to all of you guys. Along those lines, let's get back and let's jump right back onto point number 7. And this is, again, your 2022 immediate action guide.
Yes, what to do before it's 2022. So point number 7, and this is going to require some calculators for some of you. Get your typing fingers or your pencils ready. Point number 7, establish exactly how many listings you need next year to meet your production goals. Now, how do you do that? Well, 80% of your transactions should be listings. The buyers will come automatically from the listings. Don't even work that math out. They will come, I promise you. Now, this listing number is ultimately the most important number to focus on.
By the way, for those of you who've done the real estate treasure map, what Julie's about to talk about is what we call the magic number formula. And just to really underline, I think, the importance of understanding what this is. The real estate business feels overwhelming and confusing, especially if you're new in the industry. You're going to be told to work on your brand. You're going to be told to buy buyer leads, a CRM. Oh, you better be doing YouTube videos and TikTok and Stitch videos and all this other Mickey Mouse, right? You're going to be told to do all this stuff that's not going to lead you directly to being put in a position to help people and make money. What we do, the reason that so many of you, tens of thousands of you every day, listen to this podcast, and the reason this is the number one listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States, is because we cut through all that BS and we get to the heart of really why people are successful or not successful, not just in real estate, but in any business. In this industry, in the real estate industry, which you were smart enough to have chosen, right? Listings are where it's at. Always where it's going to be at, always is where it's going to be at. So you need to have this magic number formula in your mind. Here's a quick overview, and Jules will get to the math. If, for example, your average, right now in the United States, most of your average commissions are going to be at least $10,000. And most of you listening right now have to have at least $10,000 come in every single month to comfortably pay your business and personal bills. I think that's true for most people listening. I was just talking to Michael and Robin Gordon, and I know their number is about 10 times that.
Yes.
They're going to close. Did I tell you, Julie? They're going to close. Longtime coaching clients, guys. They're on the main line. They're going to close 275 units this year for $300 million.
It's just astonishing.
A team
isn't
of
it?
16. And they're one of our first 5 coaching clients almost 20 years ago.
It's amazing.
Isn't that incredible? But in any event, so that.
But for most people, it's an average of probably about $10,000 a month just to maintain your lifestyle. Maybe for some of you to move the needle a little bit, but generally that's just maintenance money.
And in most parts of the country, and this is going to be true for next year and probably the year after that as well, if you had, let's say, for example, 3 listings at all times, that's it. All of you can do 3 listings at all times. I got a notice from Realtor.com in our neighborhood back in Dorado in Puerto Rico. And there were like 6 for sale by owners that just put their houses for sale, and they listed them on Realtor.com. Now that I think about it, it may have been Zillow, but ew, yuck.
Ew.
But anyway, so it was an email, and there's all these FSBOs, and I was thinking, my gosh, if I were selling real estate in Dorado, Puerto Rico, and I didn't have any inventory, how about that?
And you didn't even need all 6 of them either.
No, well, exactly.
You'd win all 6.
But if you had 3 listings at all times, and you're in Paducah, Kentucky, or wherever you are,
sure.
if you're in Murphy, North Carolina, if your goal, if your business plan, if your mission in life, this is it. This is the most important thing. You guys getting this magic number? Is to have 3 listings at all times. Easily, you would have 1 listing closed per month. Maybe all 3. You guys getting what I'm saying here? You'd have, if you have 3 active listings, you easily have 1 going in contract. If your average commission was at least $10,000, you've now basically earned $120,000 a year. And we already told you, and you should know by now, that you're going to get lots of buyer opportunities. So maybe you sell those buyers the listing, or maybe you sell the buyers another house. So just by having 3 listings at all times, listeners, are you listening? You're going to sell at least 12 houses, but more like 20 houses a year. That's it. We just told you your whole thing. So why are you wasting so much time on all this other crap? You don't have to have a bunch of YouTube videos, guys, to call it for sale by owner and know what to say to get that listing.
Let's look at the difference here, right? Some of them are being told you've got to crank out at least 3 videos a week, or at least, 12 TikToks, a month. That's the wrong number to focus on.
Totally.
The right number to focus on is simply listings. So let's take them back to the math just for a second, just to keep it super simple. Let's say you want to make $120,000 gross commission. And let's say your average commission to you is a net of $8,000. You'll need 15 total transactions. 12 is 80% of that, right? So, yes, 12 listings would be 80%. Remember, 80% of your business should be listings. So you've got to concentrate on generating those 12 opportunities. Isn't that a lot easier to think about, to digest?
And if you want some more comfort in the confusion, here's some more comfort. It all comes down to numbers. And if you are one of our coaching clients, you'd be learning this. So what we would then do if you were a coaching client, we determine your magic number, then we'd figure out basically who it is that we're going to attract. The first people we're going to go after is going to be your centers of influence and past clients for sure. And then we're going to choose from one of the 20 other sources. None of the sources of seller leads that we prescribe to you cost anything. We're not trying to sell you leads, nor do we think you should ever buy leads.
There's no reason to.
There's no reason to. It's insanity, especially buyer leads. Now, so with that said, you are going to go and you're going to get these opportunities to, list houses. You then are your whole life, your whole business, your whole structured time, scheduled time in the morning is focused on essentially rinse, wash,
lather, rinse, repeat.
There you go, whatever it is, right? Yes. That's what your whole morning is about. Your whole morning is going to be about replacing the listings that sold or are in contract. And if your minimum number is 3, if your magic number is 3, that's pretty damn easy to do. Now, let's say you decide you're not content earning $120,000. You now want to earn $240,000. You want to earn $300,000. Well, we can go back to the magic number formula. And what we do, actually, guys, and we're oversimplifying it slightly, but we look for your average days on the market. We look at your list to sell price ratio. But pretty much every market in the country, it's going to be less than 30 days. And list to sell price ratio is going to be 100%. So it's not difficult to do. So if you had, say, for example, 5 listings at all times. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine getting 3 listings at all times, Tim. I've never done that before. Okay, let me just focus on getting 1. All right, you've got 1 listing. Can you get 2? You got 1, you can get 2. Can you get 3? Can you maintain 3 listings at all times? It might take you 90 to 120 days to do it.
And you might need a transaction coordinator at some point.
And we're going to tell you how to do it. Okay. We're going to tell you how to work through it. And then you're going to decide, well, you know what, Tim, I want to buy a bigger house. I want a boat. I want to take more vacations. I want to, whatever you want to do. And I want to double my income. Well, then we're going to have to figure out what your new magic number is. It's no longer 3 listings at all times. Now maybe it's actually 6 or it's 5. And now you're selling, you have 5 listings at all times. And now opposed to having 1 listing sell at all times, you're having 3 listings sell. So you have 3 things in contract. Now, and your average commission is $10,000. You're making $360,000 a year. There's no way any of you listening now did not understand the simplicity of what I just said.
It's scalable is the point. Once you know your numbers and once you understand the power of the magic number, the business does become more controllable and more predictable.
Why do they make it so damn complicated?
Because they have to cross the skills bridge a bit.
Exactly.
Okay, and many of them want to avoid that, but I think you just made this is a Tim point, this point number 8. It's actually easier to go fast than slow. I'm quoting you on that. 12 listings in a year are actually harder to focus on than setting 1 qualified listing per week or per day for some agents. These are the skilled agents who have, gotten to that point. If 1 per month is easy for you, consider raising your goals. Michael and Robin Gordon, you just mentioned, they didn't just roll out of bed 20 years ago and do that, did they?
Well, actually, when you were reading point 8, I'll tell you what I was thinking about it. Ziggy.
Yes, great example.
Kristen, right? Mm-hmm. And she listens every day. So she's an example. She started with us, and she was a software salesperson, and she had some sales skills, but she didn't really, she was definitely had the raw building materials. She came to one of our events. She signed up for coaching, and she didn't really do anything with it. Took her 90, 120 days, maybe 6 months. I honestly don't remember how long. But then all of a sudden, she started doing what she didn't want to do, and she didn't want to do it at the highest level. She started picking up the phone. She started making the calls. She failed forward. In other words, she got tired of waiting, getting ready to get started. She just decided to pick up the phone and start doing the real work.
Well, she decided to earn while she learned.
That's the main thing. It's no longer about getting ready to get started. Pick up the damn phone and actually have a conversation with a prospective seller. You'll realize that 99% of the time, getting an appointment, let alone the listing, for most for sale by owners is easier, or expires, or notice of defaults, or all the other sources we teach you guys to go after. Now, obviously, guys, if you want to worry about your branding and your marketing and build your CRMs and build a team and add buyers agents and all the rest of it, we teach you to do that first. But your formidable part of your business building, or if you've been in the business for a long time and you don't have consistent cash flow, it's because you have not embraced what we're saying. Do not overcomplicate this industry. Focus on what Julie and I just said. You will not experience the ups and downs in the cash flow then. You don't have to experience the bullshit that everybody else does. It's voluntary as long as you choose. Right? This is all about your choice to spend all your best time and best efforts becoming a powerful listing agent. So if you've not completed your real estate treasure map yet this year, it's easy, right? Just text 2022 to 47372. Text the number, as in the year next year, right?
2022.
Can you believe it, by the way?
I know.
Text 2022 to 47372. Text 2022 to 47372. We'll text you back a link, and then you can download the real estate treasure map. And here's the cool part. For the rest of this month and probably the first couple of weeks of next month, we're going to be giving you a free coaching call with one of our new member coaches. And you can choose your own day and time. So go ahead and do that now. Text 2022 to 47372. You'll get your real estate treasure map, which does include the whole process of explaining to you in a hell of a lot more detail than what we just did, how to complete the real estate treasure map and how to know what your magic number formula is. Know this, and you will not feel the stress, the unneeded stress and anxiety that many of you carry around and think is normal because you're in real estate.
And you won't be so susceptible to people selling you on the easy button. If you just do this and give me your credit card number, we will just rain impressions on you and all will be well. Don't be subject to that. So point number 9 is track your results. How many listing appointments do you currently need to go on in order to list the number you need to reach your goals? What is your personal appointment to listings taken ratio? Okay, everybody's ratio is different. Your goal is to win 90 to 100% of the time. Yes, you heard us right. 90 to 100% of the time. 50-50 is not okay when interviewing for listings. If you don't have this ratio already, get help identifying why. This is what coaching is for, because it's not the same reason for everyone. Some people have a really kick-ass pre-listing presentation because they've gotten that far, right? But they never close. So it takes a coach to identify what their issues may be. Go ahead.
Point number 10, focus heavily on your foundational spoke or source of business known as your database. Your centers of influence and past client are most likely to do business with you again or refer somebody to you. Call to connect, not just to make contact. And listen, you guys have got to make the calls. Do not be dropping tchotchkes off. Do not be emailing. Do not be doing digital stuff and thinking that that's going to get the business. You have to be calling. If you want to do the passive stuff, the passive lead generation to them, do that to supplement the proactive lead generation. Do not just do the passive, lazy postcard, pumpkin pies, and all the other Mickey Mouse.
That's not really a contact.
It's not a contact. A contact in our world, in your world, once you become a coaching client, is a conversation with a decision-making adult. We will tell you what to say. We'll help you create a schedule for 2022 of when to call, what to say, and it'll be you calling, being yourself, using a conversation outline, aka a script. It's not going to feel forced or unnatural to you. You're going to look forward to doing the calls because you're going to know that that's going to be something that they're going to welcome receiving a call from you because of what you're going to be saying to them, the value you're going to be bringing, but also it will become, as Julie said, the foundational spoke for your business. Point number 11.
Point number 11, there is still time for 2 or more open houses this year. That's right. You are likely to have a fantastic turnout. Choose houses in highly desirable neighborhoods and deploy our open house lead generation techniques if you're in Premier Coaching. Now, if you're not, sign up for Premier Coaching. Open houses are an amazing source of business when they're done strategically. And we have reports back from our Premier Coaching clients right off of last weekend how absolutely killer their open houses have been. The houses look great during the holidays. It's important that you choose the house over the agent. Choose a house that's actually going to get some turnout.
But isn't that amazing? Agents spend billions of dollars, and it is with a B,
it is,
on buying buyer leads. But if you don't have a listing, I get it. You can't do an open house because you don't have a listing. That's not true. Borrow another agent's listing. Well, I'm a tiny little brokerage and none of us have any listings. Go borrow a listing from somebody else that's not at your brokerage. There's nothing wrong with that. Hold another house open, right? Meet the buyers in the community. So here's some simple facts. That in every single study done ever since the advent of real estate, especially the internet, has proven this. The least qualified and least motivated people are starting their searches on the internet. The internet has become the new school way of grabbing a home magazine as you're walking out of a grocery store.
Well, Saturday Night Live made fun of it. You know, during COVID,
Exactly.
People's pastime was going to Zillow and just looking at
Zillow
other people's
porn.
houses, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but the moral of the story is what we're trying to tell you is the least motivated people are the people that are going to the internet and filling out forums, and those are the leads that you're buying. No wonder that the leads suck.
And they're also, by the way, not just yours.
And they're round robining those leads. They're selling to a bunch of different people. The most motivated buyer leads are the ones that are driving the neighborhood and going to the open houses.
Also seller leads, by the way.
Well, let me get to that. So what has happened when someone's driving a neighborhood? They've not just decided on the city and the community, but they're looking in a neighborhood in which they want to move. And those people oftentimes, depending on the price point, are going to have houses to sell. People will ask us to this day, Tim and Julie, how did you guys sell over 100 houses your first year in the business when you're in your early 20s? Doing exactly what we're telling you now.
A lot of it was open house business.
Totally.
And really good lead follow-up. And asking the question, which home in the area do you plan on selling? Because a lot of your open house traffic is, guess who? The neighbors.
Depending on price point, right?
Yes,
So if you're doing a lot of first-time buyer house, so that's in our script, by the way. One of this, this is a buyer pre-qual script. Julie just told you guys line 3. Oh, by the way, which house in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling? What do most agents do? They don't even want to ask if they have a house to sell. They're petrified to be put in a position where they actually might have to talk to the seller about listing. After all, they don't want to seem too pushy. So know what to say, know how to say it, and then what you'll discover depending on the price point. Like if it's a move-up price range, if it's anything other than a first-time buyer price range, but generally speaking, the move-up or sometimes it's usually first-time buyer, then they move up to another house, and then depending on their ability to, socioeconomics, right? There might be 3 or 4 additional moves on top of that. So depending on what the price point is, they're going to have other houses to sell. Now, when you get to the really expensive stuff, they have no house to sell. They don't care if their house sells or not. They'll just keep it. It doesn't really matter. But if you're anywhere in that Midland price range, by the way, which house in the neighborhood are you thinking about selling? Oh, I don't live here. We're moving from wherever. Well, great. Are you working with an agent there? Now you can make a referral fee off that listing agent referral. Next point, Julie.
Yes, point number 12, set an actual goal of how many qualified buyer and especially seller appointments you will set in the next 2 weeks. It's okay to go ahead and set those meetings up for after January 1st if that's what the prospect desires. Get a head start on 2022. Don't just decide that you're going to kick back and then try and restart after January 1st.
By all means, though, listen to what we're saying. Focus all your best energies on the seller side of the business. Depending on your age, you'll have more or less energy. Most people, if they're being honest, are effective for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day. Most people, if they're lucky, 2 or 3 hours a day. Make sure you're spending a majority of that 2 or 3 hours. You might be working, but you're spending a lot of time, doing stuff that's not going to put you in a position to help people make money. So for during that 2 or 3 hours a day, you need to be spending a majority of that time, 90% of that time, not chasing buyers, chasing sellers. How many of you listening right now? If you had a choice between having 20 buyers or having 20 listings, how many would you prefer to have the buyers over the sellers? None of you. Because you know that the listings are going to sell themselves. The paychecks happen almost passively.
And the listings will generate more listings and more buyers.
Exactly.
Buyers on their own don't usually do that.
You will never have the real estate business that you deserve being focused on buyers as your primary source of income.
That's right. So point number 13, start actually following the dollar productive schedule that you created in your treasure map, assuming that you followed what we coached you to do and got your treasure map.
And text 2022 to 47372, and we'll text you back a link to download your 2022 fill-in-the-blank business plan, a.k.a. your real estate treasure map. So just go ahead and text 2022 to 47372.
Yeah, so we're talking about following the schedule that your treasure map gets you to fill out, your own personal schedule. Now, you don't have to be perfect at it, but you do need to start following the habits that will get to your goals next year. Start with a media-free morning and some daily minimum standards like we've discussed in previous points and is discussed in both Harris Rules and the treasure map. So you combine your media-free morning with, well, like you said, 2 to 3 really productive hours that are focused on the things that make you money in real estate, and you start to build the habits that will be required for you to meet or exceed your goals next year.
When you read the iTunes reviews, because you're leaving your own 5-star review, you're going to hear that most people profess to listening to us every single day and oftentimes binge listening. Now, why are they doing that? They're doing that for, frankly, the same reason I binge listen to a lot of podcasts myself. It's because it puts you into the same wavelength of the people that you're listening to. You're in conversation with Julie and I right now. You guys we're all in the same virtual room having a conversation about how we're going to absolutely kick some serious ass next year, right? True or false? True for every single one of you. So you're there with us. Get into the vibe of being on the success mindset. Get into the vibe of being the person that takes actions. Get into the vibe of the person that's focused on being a listing agent, who knows that product is your profit, who knows that if you want ever-increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, you have to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. Listen to past podcasts. There are over 2,000 on iTunes. There's actually more than that. There's something like 5,000, but when we moved our podcast host, they only let us import 2,000. Go back. I mean, that's plenty, right?
Well, that is point number 14. Get caught up on Real Estate Coaching Radio Podcast. That's not just for those of you who are our newer listeners. That's for all of you because we define those largely by topic, right?
Yep.
So if you want to say, understand more about inflation, you could go listen or re-listen to the Peter Schiff podcast that happened a few weeks ago. If you want to remember what the 7-step listing process is, because you know that you're missing some of those things.
It's not coaching.
There's a podcast about
It's
that.
not coaching like you will receive in Premier Coaching.
Nope.
Do not be, deluded into thinking the best we can hope to do on this podcast is some high-level training. It's not coaching. The intensity of what you received as a Premier Coaching
Totally
client
different.
is on a different level.
Our job is to expose you to perhaps knowing more about what you don't know or what you want to improve upon, and to help you move the needle in your business and your personal life faster than you might be doing on your own.
That's the whole point of coaching. And by the way, when you download your real estate treasure map by texting 2022 to 47372, you are entitled to a free coaching call with one of our new member coaches. And Julie Harris, point number 15.
Yes, point number 15, make the commitment that 2022 will be your best year ever, and don't start the year without defining what that actually means. The previous 14 points are designed to give you direction and confidence so you can actually achieve those goals. And I realize, and you and I talk to people like this all the time, that a lot of them did have their best year ever. And now, this time of year, they're kind of freaking out a little bit that they want to not just reproduce that, but maybe do a bit better next year. You can do that, but you've got to be in control, and you've got to follow these previous 14 points and actually have a plan, because you're not going to do it without a plan.
If you don't have a plan, what's going to happen is you're going to start working somebody else's plan for their benefit. So if you don't have your own specific drilled down goals that you get from completing the real estate treasure map, what's going to happen is you will find yourself, without knowing it, working towards somebody else's betterment. You will become their vessel for their personal goal accomplishment. Mm-hmm. So for example, one of the things that we'll ask you, got a typical real estate conversation with an agent. How many houses did you sell last year? I sold 50. How many houses do you want to sell this year? I want to sell 100. Well, why do you want to sell 100 houses? No damn good reason.
Just because it sounds good.
Because I want to do it. Because I have always wanted to do it. Well, why have you always wanted to do it? Well, no reason. Because I want to brag about it. Basically, I want an award. I want to get a double diamond ruby trophy. I want to blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Well, and then, okay, so now you've accomplished it. It's a year forward. You've accomplished 100 sales, but your financial situation is the exact same. You haven't increased your net worth. You've actually had less time off. You've actually worked more in the past year to hit this number, but you've got nothing really to show for it other than the trophy. Now what? That's what coaches do. Because what we want you to do is set your goals around what is truly meaningful, not just, so why did you decide to choose the goal of 100? Because your real estate brokerage was going to give you some sort of, manipulative trophy that was going to make you feel extra special if you, sold $5 million worth of the real estate. Even though the $5 million worth of the real estate that you sold was from you buying business. So you didn't make hardly any profit on those transactions.
And you had a lot more stress having to pump all those out, ending up with virtually no extra money as a result.
Exactly. You guys get the point? Product is your profit, because it's with that profit that you can then reinvest, and then you become rich. And rich is where your money works for you, and you no longer have to work for your money. These are all Harris Rules in our book called, guess what? Harris Rules, available at Barnes & Noble and every other major bookseller. So listen, guys, Julie and I are going to keep on pumping out the podcasts. We're going to keep our intensity even higher. We are incredibly excited about 2022, and hopefully so are you. If not, continue to listen to the podcast. Your homework is to do two things. Number one, download your 2022 business plan by texting 2022 to 47372. Text 2022 to 47372. And number two, if you've not yet completed your treasure map, get that done. And what was the other homework assignment? Oh yes, please do give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever your podcast listing widget is by texting 5-star to 47372. Or just go, you might be listening right now on iTunes. All you got to do is scroll to the bottom and just leave 5 stars and leave a nice little comment. We read them. We appreciate it. It is your way of saying thank you. Thank you for putting the effort every day. Thank you for being partners with me in my business. And a lot of you have become long-term friends of ours. At least that's how we feel about all of you guys. So please do help us stay on mission, and do give us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're watching on YouTube, like it and subscribe to this channel. We're going to be increasing the volume, increasing the intensity, increasing the number of interviews. Everything we're doing across the board is going to be for your betterment. Help us get the word out. If you're on iTunes, again, give us a 5-star review. Same with Stitcher. If you're on YouTube, subscribe and hit the like button. You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show on tomorrow.